time to make some fast money. And now, here is your host, Rod Villagomez, with all of this weekend's best motorsports bets. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Fast Money here on For Frequency's Sake. I am Rod Villagomez, here to break down another exciting weekend of racing for you. 3 series in action. We have the NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series in the great state of Texas to take on that 1.5 miles in the big Lone Star State. And then we have got F1 in Japan taking on the Suzuka circuit for their race as they are just barreling toward the end of their season, and an exciting season that it's been, a historic season that it's been. But we are here, as always, to give you some fun parlays to take advantage of as we go into this racing weekend. Like I said, we got playoffs going on for the Cup drivers and the Xfinity drivers, lots to drive for. And then, of course, pride for the most part for F1, as Max Verstappen has been running away with the entire field all season long. May even do it again in Japan this week, although he didn't do it last week. He proved that he was human last week in that Grand Prix. So unfortunately, the rest of the field may not get that luxury again this week, but we'll talk about that as we lay out my favorite parlays for the week. We are going to start with a pair of podium finishes, or 3 podium finishes, as it were, for each of these series. Podium, top 3 finish. I know for this NASCAR folks, we're used to hearing top 3. F1, it's a podium finish, but we will take 3 top 3 finishes. We'll put them all together for you in each of the series. We'll start first with Charles Leclerc to finish on the podium for Ferrari in Japan. Then we'll add Justin Allgaier to finish inside of the top 3 in the Xfinity Series on the Texas track. And then Kyle Larson to finish as a top 3 driver in the Cup Series. Leclerc, a podium finish by himself, is at plus 200. Allgaier at plus 110 to finish inside of the top 3. And then Kyle Larson plus 160 to finish inside the top 3 by himself. Put all those together, you get plus 1538 from our friends over there on Caesars. Listen, for Leclerc, his track history here is actually not quite as bad. He's got 3 races. It just feels like it's bad because for Leclerc, you expect him to be in the podium each and every week. He actually was last season here. He started second, finished third on this track. The year before that, he was in his Ferrari ride for the first time with the Ferrari team that he's with now. 2019, he started second, finished 7th. His first race, a 10th place start, 18th place finish, so we can't really draw much from that. But it was a 3rd place finish for him last year here. Kind of a rough season for Charles Leclerc. Last year, he was jockeying with Max Verstappen for the most part for the entire season as far as championship is concerned. This year, in 15 races, only 3 podiums. But I will say, over the last couple of races, he started 3rd, finished 4th in the last 2 Grand Prix that he's been in. So I know it's not podium finishes for him, but at least he started in the top 3. Last week in Marina Bay in Singapore, bad pit call kept him out of the podium. He would have had that were it not for his pit stop, about a 5-second pit stop, which may seem like a blink of an eye, but for F1, it's forever. So bad pit stop took him out of the podium in that race. And then a couple weeks before, too, just another bad strategy call kept him out of the podium there. However, I do believe that he will get back to the podium this week. I think it's a good place for him. He was second fastest in practice 2 recently. He was 4th fastest in practice 1, so he steadily improved on his speed. I'll let you guess who was first, but we'll get there in a second. As for Justin Allgaier on this track, look, Justin Allgaier is one of these guys in Xfinity that he is going to be in contention here for the championship by the end of the season. I think he's going to continue to advance out of each round, as it were. Last week, he won the race in Bristol. It was a tough race. He ended up winning after starting 10th on the short track. It was definitely a hard-fought battle for him there. In Kansas, he started first, ran into trouble, finished 18th, unfortunately, but a 7th place at Darlington. He won at Daytona, 5th place at the Indy GP. You go back earlier to some of his other finishes in Las Vegas, which is another track kind of comparable. He finished 2nd. Fontana, same type of track, finished 3rd. Top 3 finishes in those: 3rd at Dover, 2nd at Darlington. He won at Charlotte, which is another 1.5 miles. So he's got success on these types of tracks. All told, in the season, 3 wins, 12 top 5s, 16 top 10s in 27 starts for Justin Allgaier. He's battling for this championship. He wants to advance in the playoffs. He just won last week. That team is red hot. If they can stay out of trouble and stay out of their own way, this team, JRM, I think he's well on his way to a top 3 finish in the Xfinity Series. As for Kyle Larson, not really much of a case that needs to be made for Kyle Larson. If you're a racing fan, you know exactly what he is capable of each and every week. He won this race 2 years ago, led 256 laps in that race to absolutely dominate. Last year, not so lucky. Started ninth, finished ninth, but led 19 along the way. On the season, he has 13 top 5 finishes in 29 starts. So not the Kyle Larson-esque type season that you expect to see out of the former champ. But in 2 of the last 3 races, he's finished inside of the top 3. And at Kansas, he finished in 4th place. So just outside of that top 3 margin that we want. In Las Vegas, he finished 2nd. Look back at what he did at Charlotte. Not a good day for him there. He crashed out, finished 30th. But this is Kyle Larson. This is probably going to be a race that he really wants to assert his dominance in. Look back at what he's done at Texas here over the last few years since 2020. An average finishing place of 5th place rather. 2 races, 1 win, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, but he's led 41.2% of the laps. On intermediate tracks, he's got an average finish of 8.3, 28 races, 7 wins, 17 top 5s, 22 top 10s, but he's led 25% of the laps. I'm telling you right now, he's fast. He's going to be fast. He's going to stay at the top. So all we're asking him to do is get inside the top 3. We don't even need him to win this race to cash this. So again, Leclerc on the podium in Japan, Allgaier as a top 3 finisher in the Xfinity race in Texas, Larson as a top 3 finisher in the Cup race at Texas. Put those together, it's 1538 plus 1538 for you out there on Caesars. Back with another parlay. We're going to introduce you to some more shows on the network.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Cards Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Enter Pit Row with Rod Villagomez and Fast Money as we win the checkered flag with NASCAR, Xfinity, and truck race winners and props. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? We've got a double dose of action there. The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Want an analytical take? Nick Gurl and the team at Gridiron AI come to you each week with The Lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show for fantasy's sake is here in a pinch. The fellas come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Can't get enough of Joe? He comes to you 3 times a week. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip on into the football lounge with Dan and Mark while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Let's kick up our parlays a notch as we're back with Fast Money here on the For Frequency's Sake Network. It's too fast sometimes. So we'll kick it up a notch. We'll actually pick some race winners in this one. I'll give you 2 of the guys that I already gave you before. Justin Allgaier to win the Xfinity race, rather. He's at plus 400. He's at 4-1 to win this race. Kyle Larson to win the Cup race is at 5-1. This is a way for you to be able to benefit from a Max Verstappen win, which is probably a foregone conclusion. Max Verstappen to win the race in Japan by himself is now at minus 450. He had a streak of 10 races in a row that he's won, which is all but unheard of in the world of sports in general, let alone in racing. So he had that snapped last week in Singapore. So he's looking to get back on the throne. Fastest in practice 1, fastest in practice 2. Doesn't matter how many tires you're testing, doesn't matter anything like that. Max Verstappen, flat out fast all over the place. Like I said, he did win 10 in a row before Singapore last week. In fact, the only other races that he hasn't won, he finished 2nd to his teammate in Baku earlier and 2nd in Jeddah. So he's only not won 3 races out of 15 all season long. 14 podiums for Max Verstappen and 12 wins. Average finish 1.4. There's a reason why he's minus 450. So if you put him together with Justin Allgaier to win this Xfinity race and Kyle Larson to win the Cup race, I already gave you all the stats for both of those guys. I believe that Justin Allgaier is a man on a mission. I would just bet I would think that he would be in front all race long and in contention for the win. So, I mean, at 4-1, I think that's a good stab to take. Plus, it's good because Larson will probably end up running away with this race as well at 5-1, which is funny to me because Larson at 5-1 is as dominant as he is, but Verstappen is at minus 4.5 to 1 to win this. So it shows you how much they value these on this. So again, Allgaier to win the Xfinity race. We talked about him earlier. Go back and listen if you missed it. Kyle Larson to win the Cup race at 5-1. Verstappen at minus 450 to win in Japan. You put those together, that's going to give you plus 35.67. A $10 bet is going to win you 300 and some odd bucks. So definitely load up on that. Again, it's a way for you to take Verstappen to win and put it with some pretty decent shots to win their prospective races. So, all right, let's go over one more time the parlays for the day. First, we started off with Leclerc on the podium in Japan at plus 200. Allgaier is a top 3 car in the Xfinity race at plus 110. Larson as a top 3 Cup driver in this race as well at plus 160. Put all those together, it's plus 1538. Then you move on to our winner parlay. We got Allgaier to win at plus 400, Larson to win the Cup race at plus 500, Verstappen to win in Japan at minus 450. Put all those together, you get plus 35.67. Those are your fun parlays on this fun Friday on Fast Money. I've been your host, Rod Villagomez. We'll see you back next Friday with some more parlays. Until then, everyone, good luck this weekend. And what's the frequency?